Okay, let's do problem 1004, max consecutive ones 3. So in this question, we're given an integer array of numbers, and then k is the maximum number of zeros we can flip. And then we have to give the maximum number of consecutive ones we have. So here, if we flip these zeros into 1, we have 6 ones. That's why the output is 6. So the first method I came up with was having a for loop where I look at each of the number, and then within this for loop I to have a while loop that has more or less the pointer that goes all the way until we have k number of zeros, and then work out the length, and then update our max length, and then repeat the same. This is a pretty shit method because we're essentially doing O of n squared, but we don't want to do that because it's a sliding window question. We can't do this in O of n. So to do that, we do need two variables, basically two pointers, left and right. And this right is essentially like int I in for loop, and then this L will allow to extend or expand or shorten the window size. So it's a variable sliding window question. So we obviously need something called L, which is going to be 0, and then we do need max length, which is going to be 0 again, and then we also need what's called int zeros. So this zeros will count how many number of zeros we have within the window, and we'll see how it's going to be used. So we essentially need the for loop int r equals 0, and then r is less than nums.length, and then r plus plus, and then we are going to increment number of zeros if the number of zeros at r, if the nums at r is equal to 0. So if nums at r is equal to 0, we're going to increment zeros. And then for every iteration, we are going to work out max length. So max length is equal to math.max, and then now r is 0 and l is 0, so we have 1. So it's not r minus l, it's r minus l plus 1, because even though their distance is 0, we have 1, 1. So that's why we do plus 1, and then comma max length. We are comparing whatever max length we have. And then we are going to return max length. Now, let's see what we have now. So we increment r, and then the max length will be 2, and then we keep incrementing, max length is 3, and then we have 1, 0. So zeros will be 1 now. And then when we go to the next one, zeros will be 2. So we would have worked out the length between r and l. And then when we go to r, so for the next iteration, we incremented zeros to 3 now. So we shouldn't work out the length for this one. So instead of working out the length, we do need something. We need to increment this L like this. So the logic for that is while zeros is greater than k, if we have more than k zeros, we have to put some condition into here, which is L plus plus. So now we are at here. So we need to have a logic for decrementing the number of zeros. So if nums.l is equal to 0, we have to decrement zeros. So here we are at 0, so we decrement it to 2, and then we move. Now there's only 2 zeros between L and R, so we can work out the maximum length. So it was 5 originally, and the current length would be 2, so we don't really update the max length here. And then we again move R, and then zeros is still 2, it's fine, and then we will get up to this point. And up to this point we would have updated our max length to 6, and then when we get to the end we have 3 zeros, and then we put them into while loop, and we repeat the same process. That's why it's a variable window size, sliding window question. So even though we have while loop and for loop, it is still O of n because they don't go backwards. The previous method I mentioned is constantly iterating the same thing, so that's why it was O of n squared. So let's run the test. Okay. All right, it's accepted. Let's submit. Okay, that's it.